However, a day later, he started to make a post about this in his own Facebook post. But here's the funny thing. He made a post in his Facebook and he did not add me. And he has my Facebook account. He has my account. We are on each other's contact. But he did not add me when he posted about this issue in his Facebook. Now what does this tell you? It tells you that he doesn't wish to argue with me anymore. He knows he can't win the argument, which is why he stopped arguing on YouTube channel and went to his own Facebook to post it so that his own friend can support him and make his sad little ego feel better. I mean, if I want to actually prove something is right, I will add the person that I'm accusing of or arguing with so that they can actually come and then argue with me and I'll prove to them that they are wrong. The fact that he doesn't want to add me shows how coward this person actually is. But unfortunately for him, right, Facebook has this algorithm that, notifies me when someone makes a post with a picture that looks like me. And that's how I actually got notified that, David Ross made a post that might include you. And I was like, okay, let me go have a look. And basically this is what I found. So he basically made a post. He posted 2 pictures from the video he screen grabbed. And he said, when you claim you are an expert based upon being Chinese, but get the Chinese character wrong, especially terrible because P may be the most common character in Chinese martial arts. So notice something here. Instead of arguing about whether Wu Xing Tongbei has strike or not, whether Fan Ziquan is mostly about striking or not, whether a turn is about striking in different direction or drawn lock like he claimed, whether Mantis is more about striking or throwing and chin na, whether Xing Yi is about striking more than chin na and shui, right? Whether manuscript is public text or actually holds the essence and secret of each style. So instead of any of the arguments that he previously tried and failed, and from this you can see actually no he failed. But if he didn't, why don't he just bring those back to his wall? He doesn't. Instead, he forget all of those that he tried to argue and fail, and he's now picking on something that he thinks he surely have got me, which is a misspelling. You can see how pathetic this person's mind and personality is, right? He's not trying to argue for something that he truly believes in. Because if he truly believes that Yiquan has qin na and shui, then he will go his way to find evidence. And when he doesn't, then he knows that he's wrong and accepts the actual truth. But all he wants to do is to feel better for himself and to make me look bad. Even if I don't know it, it's fine. So like he make me look bad in front of his friend, it will make his own sad little ego feel better. And that's very sad and pathetic. And which is why instead of all these other arguments he tried on YouTube, he tried to attack something that he thinks is very obvious, which is that I misspelled a word. But sadly for him, I didn't misspell that word. He just didn't know Chinese as well as he thinks he does. So on the screen grab, you can see that I replied to him that I never claimed to be an expert. If you watch my videos, again, I've never actually said that I am an expert of this or that. I just say that I have more experience than most people out there and most people who are willing to share knowledge on YouTube, which is why I am making these videos. Nowhere do I say I'm an expert. He just saying that because he wants to boil me up and make me look bad, which is very pathetic attempt. And basically, in my reply, I told him that these 2 characters, P as in chopping, and the other P as in putting on clothes, they're actually interchangeable. And according to the P-Gua people in China, the P character that I used, which you can see here, is in fact the original name for the style. The chopping P-Gua, that character was only used at a later point. And since that I was talking about the style from General Qi Jiguang's Ji Xiao Xin Shu, I decided to use the older form of P because it fits better with the overall topic. Because that P-Gua, right, was the older form of character P, was first found in General Qi Jiguang's Ji Xiao Xin Shu. Although it was not named as a style, it was just a motion in his book, or a combat motion. But the P-Gua people claim that's where they got the name from. And while I don't have hard evidence to say that's exactly what happened, but if the P-Gua people themselves say this is the older form of P and then the chopping character is a new form, who am I to argue? And something else that he does not know, even though he claimed to be a Chinese language expert, is that in the Chinese language, there is something called 通假字. What 通假字 means, although I don't know how to exactly translate this into English, but what this means is that in the Chinese language, in the olden days, right, this has been found ever since the spring-autumn period, which is about 2,500 years ago up until today. Through this entire period of time, there has been many instances where two characters written differently with different meaning but sounds the same has been used interchangeably. And this phenomenon in Chinese language study is called 通假字. I know this video isn't about language, but let me just give you a few examples so that you know that I'm not talking nonsense here. So for example, this character, back in the days it's pronounced yue, now it's pronounced shu. It means to talk or to speak. It's a different character to this one, which is also read as yue, but it means happy. However, in the classical text, this character that means talk has been used to represent happy, which shows that these two characters can be used interchangeably. An example of this can be found in one of the most famous classical texts, 论语. In it says, 学而时习之，不亦乐乎? And that 乐 is written as speak, but it means happy. This character today is pronounced 女, which means female. And this character is pronounced 汝, which is an older form of saying you. However, there are again classical texts where the character 女, which means female, is used in replacement of this character to mean you. An example of this again can be found in the classical text of 论语, where it says 回汝知之乎, whereas it's written as 女, female, but it means 汝 as in you. This character is pronounced 乌, and it usually means black, as in black cloud 乌云, black bird 乌鸦. And this character means 无, which means nothing. However, in the classical text 山氏, it reads 继而风定天晴，一切乌有. And over here is written as the color 乌, black or dark, but it actually means nothing. Now I can find you a whole truckload of examples of 通假字, but obviously I'm not going to waste time. But this is to show you that it's very common practice in the Chinese language to have two words that sound the same but written differently to be able to replace each other. Which is why it is not even a spelling mistake when I use this P instead of the other chopping motion P in 披挂. Not only does the 披挂 people themselves say this is the older version of the style's name, but also this kind of practice is very common. And then when I told him that this P is basically an older form of that P and that whole scenario, his reply is, you do not know more than me. I've trained longer than you have been alive. Your Chinese is horrible. You do not know the classical Chinese of any of the characters. Your shuai is wrong. You do not understand blah blah blah. And this is quite sad and ironic because he's the one who doesn't even know what 通假字 is. And he didn't know that 披挂 people believe that P I use is the older form of the name. That actually shows how little he actually knows. But instead of listening to reason and look at fact, he just wants to accuse me, and that will make his sad little ego feel better. And after that, he made another screen grab over here where he says, here is another pathetically bad one. And I don't even know what he means, initially, because it just says 八字拳. I look at it and I realize that I made a spelling error, right? 八字拳 in Chinese character is fine, but in the English spelling, it's supposed to be B-A-Z-I 拳. I think I included an H in there. And, that is honestly a spelling mistake on my part. And because, I don't have anyone else helping me, I basically do the research, record the video, and do my own editing. And this particular video basically has the most amount of text I've ever included in any video I've ever made, which is quite a stressful task for me, which is why, I made a spelling error. But you know what the funny thing is? this isn't even what he was referring to. And only over here I finally realized, he wasn't actually talking about my misspelling of the English pronunciation of 八字拳. He actually thinks that I miswritten 八极拳. And what this shows that he actually didn't even pay attention to the video that I made. He just kind of wanted to attack my video without even understanding what I was saying. In that video, I clearly said that 八字拳, what you see that he screen grabbed, is a system that was recorded on General Qi Ji Guang's first classic, 拳经节要. And then I say that 八极拳 today claim that 八字拳 is the original name given to their style. So over here, I'm actually not trying to write 八极拳, I'm literally trying to write 八字拳. So my Chinese characters are exactly what it meant to be. The only mistake was the English pronunciation spelling, which I added an H that shouldn't be there. But he actually thought I was trying to say 八极拳, whereas I'm actually trying to say 八字拳. And someone else on this post actually commented that it's common knowledge that 八字拳 was the previous name for 八极拳. Well, this has not been proven, but this is pretty much what 八极 people are claiming. And he, frankly, didn't know that. He thought I actually written 八极拳completely wrong into 八字拳. I mean, so seriously. Adding extra H or extra I, sometimes people make a mistake. I would never miss the entire system like that, So again, he didn't know what he's talking about, but he thinks that other people are wrong because his lack of knowledge. And over here, he's like, here you are talking about Qi's book, you're talking about Hong Kong-based system, and they certainly do not use what you put in the video. Well, who cares? It's 通假字. Just ask the Hong Kong branch, did they come from the older PY in China, in the northern part of China, or did they not? They'll tell you they came from there. And what does those people say? They say the oldest name is this P and not that P, which means these two are interchangeable. It doesn't matter which P the Hong Kong lineage are using now, right? It doesn't make a difference. And what's even more pathetic is that this is not even part of his original argument. He's trying to say that martial art isn't about striking. And when we first talk about 大圣劈挂 and 劈挂掌, he's trying to say that it doesn't matter whether you use a fist or a palm. The name doesn't specify what kind of hand gesture is used within the form. And that I've already proven him completely wrong. And instead of admitting that he was wrong and just get on with it, he had to try to attack me on a supposedly spelling error that actually isn't. And the next, he said, you're a big fan of manuscripts, so go read 平静义. So based upon what people who have known you since you were 10 say, I don't think you really can read, which could explain the numerous mistakes in your laughable video. Again, after he failed the fact to prove that I misspelled the word, he resolved to personal attack, which is sad and pathetic. I mean, okay, he wanted to go read 平静义, which I believe is an author in Taiwan who wrote something, but what, right? What is your point? What point did this 平静义write that contradict my video? Point it out, bring it, screenshot it, link it to me, right? I mean, the fact that all he says is go read that, and it doesn't even say what to read and why is it relevant to the topic, just shows you that he's just throwing trash at me, hoping to make himself look good, even though he actually lost the argument long ago. And again, say based on people who have known me since I'm 10, I can't read. That's personal attack, right? And it's really served no purpose. It shows how little he is. And I don't even think I need to address this. I can't read Chinese. In fact, I can read both simplified and traditional Chinese because I've been reading Buddhism manuscripts since I was 7, and Buddhism manuscripts are only written in traditional Chinese characters. And here he's basically saying that the character I use for 摔 in 摔跤, which is wrestling, is also wrong. But here's the funny thing. The character that he thinks is right is actually the 通假字 of the correct character. But since he doesn't know what 通假字 is or even exists, that's why he actually thinks that the wrong character is the correct one. Now I've mentioned this already, that in Chinese, there are something called 通假字, where two characters that sound the same, with different writing, different meaning, can often be used interchangeably. This one can be used for that purpose. But in this kind of setup, unlike the one that he is accusing me of, which is between P and P, right? Because in 通假字, usually there's one character that holds an actual meaning and another character that means something else, but can be used to replace this character for this meaning. That is the essence of 通假字. But in the case of 披挂, because the name itself initially does not actually hold a meaning, which is why using this P or that P, there are no P with the correct meaning. It's just that originally they used that P and then later on they saw that P didn't quite represent what they were doing and they chose to use a different P. So in this case, while both characters can be used, they also don't have one that's the true meaning, one that is the replacement character. However, in this case that he's bringing up, it's a different story because there is one character that is the actual character meaning wrestle. Actually, in this case, it means to smash down or to fall down or to throw down. And that is the character I used. The character that he thinks is the correct one is actually the 通假字 of the character that I use, meaning that is the character that's been misused to mean this strike, because this strike only has one meaning, which is to throw down, to fall down, to smash. What's the strike that he thinks is the correct one has a completely different meaning in the Chinese dictionary. And he somehow doesn't know that. He thinks that strike is the correct one because he has some book from the Republic era that uses that strike. And here's something that he probably doesn't know, is that the Chinese martial art people, they aren't the best educated people around the block. So more often than not, that is why in a lot of Chinese martial art systems you have the same name, but you have different characters, because traditionally a lot of these masters can't even read or write. So when they say they start to code this name, if there's two words that sounds very similar but different words, they actually don't know what word should be used. And that's probably the case with 披挂. Another example I can give you is 通背, right? Because currently there are two ways to write it. You can write it as 通背 or 通臂. 背 means the back. 臂 means arm. Both are correct in this context, because 通背, it can mean that you are stretching your back. It also can mean that you are stretching with your arm, which is why within the 通背 lineages, we use both. Some people prefer to use 背, some people prefer to use 臂. There is no right and wrong. And maybe initially there was one that's supposed to be the intended one, but because the majority of the masters can't actually read or write, so in the end they're not actually sure which character should be the correct one. So just because he read somewhere that they use this character of 摔 to be used in 摔跤, it doesn't actually mean this is the correct character. If you look at the Chinese manuscript of 说文解字, so basically that is the official dictionary where they explain the meaning of every Chinese character. So if you look at this 摔 in 说文解字, it basically says that this character originally is to represent a net using to catch bird or a net using to catch fish. And because this word means a net, which then in turn means rope, it eventually changed its meaning into leading. So 帅 at the more later stage means to lead. Like 统帅, 统帅三军, it means a general that leads the three army. Or 率领, it means someone that is taking over the leadership. And that is basically the actual meaning of this word 帅. Whereas if you look at this other word 摔, the only meaning this character consists of is throw down, smash, or fall down. So obviously this is a character for 摔跤, because 摔跤 fits this description. You take somebody, you smash or you throw him down. In 摔跤, you are not being a leader, you're not leading an army. So the other 摔 actually doesn't make sense. But does that make the other character incorrect? No, because like I said, it's a 通假字. You can use both. But in this case, unlike in 披挂 or 通背拳, in this case there is one that is the correct one and one that's been misused to replace the correct one. And he, being the language expert, ironically chose the character that isn't the one that actually represents throwing down, which goes with 摔跤. If you look at these two characters closely, you can see that 帅, the character, is part of the character 摔. So what this means in the Chinese language is that when you take a Chinese character and you break it up into left and right, on the left you have 偏旁, which usually represents the meaning or the purpose of this character. And in this case, the 偏旁, we call it 提手旁. which is representing a hand, and that in any character usually means an action. On the right, the character usually tells you how to pronounce this character, and in this case, it is a character 帅, as in leadership, 率领, 统帅. So adding these two together, it means the character 帅 for 摔跤 is created because it sounds like 统帅, but it is an action. Therefore, they took the hand from the left side and 统帅 representing the sound from the right side, and they combined it into 摔. This further proves that this character is designed and created exactly to mean falling down or throwing down or smashing, which obviously is the character used for 摔跤, whereas the one that he claimed to be the authentic character is definitely not the original intended character for 摔跤. Like I said, doesn't mean it is wrong. But then again, I'm not the one that is being a grammar Nazi here. He is the person who's holding on to these pointless, unpurposeful spellings, which in Chinese doesn't even matter. And he's holding on to that as if that is what is going to prove that he is a language expert in Chinese. But ironically, this is what precisely proves that he doesn't know enough about Chinese language to even talk about these things. And then he says so far he's listed over 15 mistakes, and every single one of them he said, well, I meant this or I made a mistake, but well, 15 he says. So I ask him, okay, do you list those 15 mistakes all out? Because maybe I can't count, but I only see one spelling error and 2 cases where I choose to use older version of the name that he doesn't happen to know. Right? I mean, if he say I got 15 mistakes, list them. I want to see them. Where are the 15 mistakes? If he has so many mistakes, it should be an easy argument for him to win. Like, why hide around and beat around the bush? Just show the 15 mistakes, and if they're really mistakes, I can't win this argument. But so far, he's been losing the argument, and he's just refusing to give up. And you know what? After I typed that, he ignored me. Instead of listing that 15 mistakes he so eagerly claimed to have, he ignores it. A perfect opportunity for him to prove me wrong, he's not taking it. He must be a saint. Instead, he came and says, you say Tongbei has neither na or shuai. You say come to Beijing and see. Wow. It's like he finally found, a floating piece of log in the rapid river that he's almost going to be drowning, right? He finally found a log that will save his life. But sadly, he is wrong. You see, without even having to read the description of that picture he linked, I look at the old master's face and I instantly know that this master is a previous generation 牛街白猿通背 head of the system, 张贵增 grandmaster. Why do I know that? Because I actually spent time training with one of his top disciples called 张信斌老师. So I know pretty well that lineage of 白猿通背. And if he actually watched my previous video, he would already know in that video I've already said 五行通背 has no shuai and no na. 白猿通背, nowadays it has wrestling, and that is because some point in their lineage they went and learned Chinese wrestling, in particular Beijing wrestling, and they incorporated that into the system, which is why in this photo you see Grandmaster Zhang Guizeng doing a throw. It's something I've already covered in my previous video. He actually just paid attention, and clearly he didn't, and he actually thinks this is gonna prove me wrong, and sorry to disappoint him, that isn't a piece of log, that's the snake that's gonna bite his ass. I respond to him, and then he deleted that response, I believe, because it's not there. I actually I respond to him right under that. I say, that's Zhang Guizeng, head of Baiyan Tongbei. They merged their system with Shuaijiao at some point, etc. But it's not there anymore. And instead of responding to that and admitting that he actually wrong, he says, poor little spoiled kid got caught pretending to be an expert, case closed. Another example of how bad this person is and how in the habit of bullying other people he is on the internet. Instead of looking at factual evidence and arguments, he just claimed the case closed single-sidedly without even, looking at the opposition's argument. Like, he's not here to argue, he's just here to make himself feel better. And after that has failed, he then, goes a step further and, result into personal attack. Here he says, big talk from a guy who looked like a girlfriend. that I had in February of last year. Bonus point if you get the reference. Like, how sad can a person is? We were talking about classical manuscript, the definition of 拳法, what each martial art style is focusing on. Instead, he can't win that, he personal attack. What? I mean, he's jealous because I look better than him? I mean, I've never actually feel proud of my looks. I mean, but if you want to bring this up, then yeah, I look better than you, and so what? Blame my parents, or blame your parent actually, because you're the one who looks bad, and are jealous of my good looks. Seriously, this is just getting more and more pathetic. And before I could respond to him again, he basically banned me from his Facebook account. So after that, I can't see anything that he posts ever again, which isn't a loss at all, if I may be honest. And this further shows you how pathetic of a person he is. Instead of winning an argument with hard fact and evidence, he tried everything from dumb argument to name calling to personal attacks, and eventually he still can't win. So guess what? He just blocked me and pretend he is winner. It's almost like the story of ostrich that when they're in danger, they plug their head into the ground and then pretend that danger isn't there. Or it reminds me of a Chinese story of a thief who is trying to steal a bell hanging outside the door. And he knows the bell will make a sound, so he covers his own ear and he steals the bell, thinking if he can't hear it, then nobody else can. Of course, he was caught on side because as he was trying to take the bell off, everyone heard him. Moral of the story is, just because you block someone doesn't make you right. It just makes you more pathetic, and that's exactly what he is. But luckily, I have friends. So my friend, grabbed me this lost screen grab, where he says, left China as a small boy, only got trained short period of time with different teachers because dad is semi-famous, not educated in Chinese language, does not have any degree in Chinese history, is ignorant of 50 years of historical research, and name drop only to have those he name drop say he is clueless. Yeah, that just makes him even more pathetic. I left China at the age of 11, sure. But I actually spent 4 years studying there, and the Chinese I learned in those days is way more than he can comprehend. The very fact that I know of 通假字, or where Chinese characters of the same sound, different writing, can be swapped around to replace each other, so that he doesn't know, but he claimed to be a Chinese language expert. I mean, where is the justice in that? And train short periods of time with different teachers. Well, some teachers, yes. Other teachers, no. I spent over 8 years with my Taiji master, for example, and over 4 years with my Wuxing Tongbei master. And that's not even relevant. You don't have to be top of your training to know what the system is about. You simply need to read the manuscript or look at what your teachers show you and explain to you. And again, everything I claim I can prove with evidence. The mental style, I can show the entire form, all 12 of them. But instead of trying to argue me with fact, he just ignore that and make whatever claim he want to, because I was banned from his Facebook. Not indicated in Chinese language. Yeah, sure. And that's why I know the language better than him. I know about 通假字, he doesn't. Does not have any degree in Chinese history. Well, you don't need a degree in Chinese history to read Chinese history. The fact that he claimed to have a degree is very laughable because of all the things he claimed up to now, which are all pretty much incorrect. He didn't even know that manuscripts are secret back in the days and are still pretty secret today in many lineages. I mean, what's the point of having a degree in history when you don't actually know this basic fundamental knowledge of Chinese martial art culture? Degree is just a piece of paper. It doesn't mean you know what you think you know. And if the people I name drop disagree with me and say I'm clueless, well, provide proof. Provide your chat screen grab. Provide evidence, they say I am clueless, show it to me. Why block me? If you have all this information, why are you so scared to let me argue with you? Why you block me from the page? And the last picture, right, that he photoshopped, that has fraud over a screen grab of my video. Notice that the picture is a picture where I made that one spelling error, where in 霸子拳 I wrote as 霸之拳, where I had extra H. What does this show you? Well, is that out of everything he's been trying to argue, This is the only point he realized that he got me on, which is a spelling error. He didn't even bother trying to put this fraud onto the 披挂拳 one, where he was so confident he got me by. He didn't put this on that 白岩通背 doing 摔跤, where he was so certain that he got me on. But he knows deep inside all of those he didn't get me on. He only got me on this one spelling error. And what does this show you? That he got nothing. Any human being can make a spelling error. It's not a mortal sin. It's not the end of the world. And by putting extra H in there or not, it doesn't disqualify the content of my video. Nor does it discredit anything I've been proven up till now. In fact, if you take Einstein's original paper on relativity, I'm pretty sure you can find a spelling error or two or even more. People make spelling errors all the time. But does that mean the paper of relativity is wrong? No, it doesn't, because the content is what is important, not the spelling. It's not like I made 50 spelling errors or 15 according to him, it's only one. And somehow he thinks that is enough to call me a fraud. I mean, how pathetic can a person get? And then here is a screen grab that a friend of mine sent to me. He got upset the way that this David Ross is treating me. And since I got banned from from his Facebook, he decided to step in and communicate. So here, this David Ross claims that I blocked him on YouTube when he pointed out all the wrong things in my video, and then when I pointed out that calling me white boy made him a racist. Okay, so first of all, I did not call him a white boy. I mean, where did he even see that? That entire argument on YouTube is still there, right? If he doesn't delete it, it's all there. I never delete any of my comments. So those of you that don't believe me, you can go and have a look. Where did I ever call him a white boy? That's not even my language. So far, I've never ever used this to describe anyone. Like, this guy is on drugs or something. He's just making things up. And I obviously did not block him on YouTube because I was the one winning. I mean, I don't block anyone on YouTube, on my channel, unless they are spamming pornography links or they are purposely trolling. I do not block him. He's either dreaming or he knows that, but he's pretending he doesn't know. And in the end, he just keep repeating, read what I say. He cannot read Chinese well. He does not know classical Chinese. He has not read the research because he cannot read well. His comments are wrong. He keep repeating this like a mantra. But repeating something doesn't make it true. Repeating the earth is flat doesn't make it flat. It's still round. And if he is so certain that he's right, prove it. I've given him ample opportunity to provide evidence, and he has not provided a shred of evidence up till this time other than blocking me. And that is how sad and pathetic this person is. So after I already finished recording this video, my friend contacted me, and I finally got to put the final piece of puzzle together. Remember, this David Ross keeps saying people who knows me, people I name dropped, they don't even support me and say I don't know what I'm talking about. And I keep telling him to provide evidence, screen grab, show me, the powers they don't support me and they say I don't know what I'm talking about. And he keep not wanting to do that. Well, guess what? The friend that he actually spoke to, contacted me and told me what happened. And this is a screenshot of the chat my friend sent to me. So according to my friend, basically David Ross just asked him how long he knew me. And then he said he knew me since I was 10. That's not really correct. I think I knew him since I was like 13, but systematic, that's not important. And obviously my friend hadn't watched my video at the time where David Ross contacted him. So basically he didn't know what's going on. David Ross just told him, so you know him for that long. Then how can he make character mistakes? My friend was not watching my video, don't even know what character mistake he's talking about. And this David Ross didn't even present, the screen grab to show my friend what mistakes I made. So my friend don't know what was going on, so naturally he just said, everyone make mistakes. And I was in South Africa since at a young age, so it's understandable if I make a couple of character error, it happens. So my friend, under the assumption that I made these character mistakes, he's basically trying to explain why, something that everyone would do is nothing special. But then David Ross takes this and he completely spins it around. Instead of saying exactly what my friend told him is that these character mistakes happens, He keeps just saying that people I name drop tells him that I don't know what I'm talking about, which is clearly not what my friend here actually said. And furthermore, he don't even talk about that on the context of these so-called character spelling mistakes. He's actually trying to use that to say that I don't know what I'm talking about when I say that Xingyi predominantly uses strike, where the mantis have more strikes than throwing and na. He's trying to use this and infer it to my knowledge in Chinese martial arts. So from this you can see, not only is he a sore loser and doesn't know what he's talking about, he's also a bloody liar. He takes something completely unrelated and he spins it around to support his argument. I mean, how low can this person get? And now you can see why every time I ask him to, show me which of my friends who I name drop don't support my theory and don't think I know what I'm talking about. And he could never provide the proof because there is no proof to begin with. He's just twisting my friend's word to make himself feel better in this argument. It really saddens me to know that there are such pathetic people with such bad moral standard in this Chinese martial art community. And I hope that anyone who's watching this video to this point will realize what kind of an asshole he is. And you should know by now that you can't trust anything he said. Even though he does have some knowledge in Chinese martial arts, but the fact that he's such a bad person, he's willing to lie anything just to win an argument, will make you think twice of anything that's coming out of that mouth. And given his age, which I think is about 40, right? He should not be this childish and pathetic. But the reality proves otherwise. And he doesn't understand that there's a saying in Chinese, 纸包不住火, paper cannot cover fire. The truth will always come out. It's like, I don't even know why he want to lie about my friend not supporting my theory. He doesn't think that my friend's gonna contact me and tell me the truth. And when that all exposed, it's gonna make him look worse. So this guy is really stupid and naive to a large extent. I mean, I've had arguments with a lot of people in the past, but this is by far the worst I've ever had, because with other people, even in the end we don't agree with each other, we can agree to disagree and still respect each other. But the way that he handles this argument, he stood so low that he's a disgrace of a human being. I'll never ever want to speak to him ever again. So I do apologize for ranting so much, but other than the drama that you might or might not enjoy, I also hope that you might learn a bit more about Chinese martial art culture and Chinese language and whatnot in general that will further help you understand the context that I was talking about in my previous video. And since this is a drama ranting video, so I don't even want to say if you enjoy the video, subscribe. But if you do, then do subscribe. And as always, thanks so much for all my Patreon supporters. And again, sorry that you guys have to witness this as well. But again, maybe some of you do enjoy drama. A little bit of drama, other people's drama, especially might make your life more entertaining at least. And again, all of you stay safe out there. Stay away from crowd. Keep yourself away from the virus and get vaccinated. Right? Thanks for watching TriEssence Martial Art channel. Keep well, and I will see you next time with actual useful content.